Microsoft not being able to work internally on new features as much as they want to.
The new GPT-4 app that can be life-changing for visually impaired people.
They have started to create fashion items that can outsmart the surveillance technology.
Welcome to our weekly tech review, where we explore the latest trends, news and updates from the world of technologies like VR, AR, blockchain, space technologies, AI, social media and consumer electronics. Whether you're a seasoned innovation expert or just starting in tech, this podcast is the perfect source for staying up to date with the latest and constantly changing world of technology. I don't know who's on camera what, because Tarek is not here, but he will edit it later on. But with me today are Chris, Vincent and myself, Henrike. Tech Review is a collaboration of Ideas Engineering, Free Tech Academy and Upday. You can watch all our episodes on YouTube or listen to us on all major podcast platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts while you work out, drive or maybe even travel through space. And without further ado, I play the random generator. And because the last weeks, I think, Vincent, you've been the last one to discuss your articles each episode. You're the first one today.
That's so exciting, Henrike. Thank you very much. And I have to say, it's quite a change not having Tarek here with us.
I know.
But it's still, you're doing great as the moderation. Thank you so much. My first article is from The Information. Unfortunately, it's a paid article, but it is a very exclusive take they have on this topic. So I had no other chance to bring it than to bring it. And it is about Microsoft and OpenAI and the GPU power it actually needs to perform AI work, if you want to call it so. And it is a very interesting information that The Information brought us today, because it is about Microsoft not being able to work internally on new features as much as they want to, because they have so much GPU and server space all reserved to customers of the Azure cloud. Everybody who's listening who does not know what the Azure cloud is like AWS, but from Microsoft. It's for businesses to use cloud computing services, and obviously also ChatGPT, OpenAI in its API, all of that is included in the Azure offerings. So if you want to use that, you need to be an Azure customer or use the free version. That being said, the big challenge there is that obviously all of that needs computing power, and Microsoft currently is estimating such a use of Office 365 computing power when the new features launch. They will be presented on Thursday, I think. So Thursday of this recording, for everybody who's listening a bit later, is the 23rd of March 2023, and Microsoft is estimating so much, plus the what customers already are using on the Azure space or cloud computing capabilities, that in the end Microsoft teams have to wait for days, sometimes weeks or even months to get approved for a certain amount of GPU power to use to develop new features. And that's interesting, because obviously to drive development even further, Microsoft needs to develop. So the balance between the one, having customers and using what is already existing, and developing new features, obviously is a very difficult one. Most of the customers don't experience any kind of delay in the use of their services. One customer stated the information that actually that customer is having issues in logging into it, but there was no comment from Microsoft about that. So, summary, Microsoft will launch new features on Office 365. With that, they are estimating that even more people will be using the services of OpenAI and ChatGPT-4 model. And that leads to a lot of the available GPU and computing power being blocked from internal developments at Microsoft. The solution to this is on the horizon. Microsoft is currently working with NVIDIA, testing out their new B2B GPU, or server GPU. B2B is wrong in that environment, to have access to even more powerful GPUs. However, that obviously is just a testing phase. So up until then, Microsoft will need to balance. But it's very interesting to see that such a tech giant with such tremendous success actually is struggling with that currently. And I hope they find the right balance, because I think the GPT-4 model is great, but we are definitely still on the brink of what's possible.
I mean, as you say, this is, for a big tech giant like them, I would have thought they either would anticipate that in one way or another, or, being aware that this could happen and take precautions. But it seems like this has been rather a surprise for them as well, the way you summarized the article.
As long as customers are not affected by it, for Microsoft business model today, this is not a big issue. But Microsoft now has a very interesting or very attractive position, because it is currently the leader of when we look at the big four tech companies, when it comes to the offerings of AI services to a wide array of customers, and not only to a very closed and exclusive test, looking at Google here. And therefore, I think it's quite challenging, and I hope they make the right decision, just as I said, because they need to evolve their features and test things properly, because otherwise, all of this is just one backlash away from maybe being just one of the big tech companies again. Right now, everybody's looking at OpenAI as like the unicorn and all of those, even though it's not fair when we look at other artificial intelligence models. But yeah, still, I agree with you. It's quite interesting that they have this challenges, but last sentence. To be also fair, I think the amount of computing that is currently needed for big operations like globally available Bing Chat, ChatGPT as its own thing, even though they also have own computing capacity. We saw ChatGPT-4 or GPT-4 model being much more powerful, also needing more computing power, partnering with Microsoft. Their Azure cloud being generally the one that needs all the computing power anyways. That's what it was predicted for. And now adding the 365 Office cloud to those offerings, and then therefore bringing it to, we will use it. In India, people will use it. In the United States, people use it. I think they just, A, need more data, and B, I think we cannot just not really comprehend what it means to operate all of that fluently and efficiently. I think Microsoft is, in German you would say händering, desperately looking to expand in that field, because they just need more.
Yeah, true.
If our tech review is valuable for you, please give us feedback with a like or a comment. That would help us tremendously, and it wouldn't cost you anything. And if you don't want to miss the next episode, just click on the subscribe button. And now, back to the news.
And now, this.
I also have, I think, a ChatGPT related article, so maybe I simply go next.
Go ahead.
Need to check which one. In the end, they're all kind of related to it. The one from Next Web. If you want to open them, it's the new chat or the new GPT-4 app that can be life-changing for visually impaired people. So bringing a use case here. Because I've read this week, and you probably too, a lot of news about that ChatGPT, the history is being temporarily unavailable, and then in other news, the history was displayed to other users, like your history, and sometimes even more information behind that, like chat information. And then that startup started to replace developers by GPT-4, etc., which were always like not so nice news. But just today I stumbled upon this use case, and I thought I'd bring that because it's quite uplifting. Be My Eyes is a Danish startup that has now integrated GPT-4 image recognition into their app for visually impaired users, so for people who are blind or have a low vision. The feature is named Virtual Volunteer, And it allows the users to take a photo of any object or something that is in front of them and get information about it, including getting directions or recipes or whatever it is. Previously, the app relied completely on human volunteers for this support system, but now the new feature takes advantage of the of GPT-4, as I said, that allows to analyze both images as text as input, as we know. They will roll out the app quite cautiously with beta testers first. And I think I saw below at the bottom of the article that you can still put yourself on the waiting list if you have any visual burden to become one of the beta testers. Because those who have already tested is described as life-changing. So which is quite interesting, and there's a video in the article where you can see various use cases. For example, they then call it be my gym partner, be my fashion advisor, my green thumb, my translator, my guide, my map, my whatever. So I think this is a great example of how this technology can actually then really make a difference for people who are really have difficulties in their day-to-day life, and not having to rely on volunteers through an app, but really make use of technologies. It sounds trivial, but it's just now due to GPT-4 that they can actually use it.
I think that's one of those. No, Chris, you go first. I spoke too much today.
I know. Is there still this noise in the background?
A little bit.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, my fan is running up and down all the time. I like this idea actually a lot. So many associations there. So first question is that really for blind people also or for people who have some kind of sight which is not optimal, or really also for blind people?
It says in the article both, and I also thought I totally get it for if you're visually impaired, if you just have a low vision in that regard, because you still have to kind of use the app and know where to push and everything if you have a smartphone. But it's also for blind people, and I thought, well, obviously there probably are tricks and ways for blind people to use smartphones these days, so they state it's for both actually.
Yeah, I had the same questions regarding people who are blind, how to deal with a smartphone. But anyway, so I like the idea a lot, because I could imagine. It's so simple, right? But so effective, so helpful. Very often, the easiest things are the best. And also here you have really a great effect in that specific area. I was thinking also that it's called the virtual volunteer. So the volunteer work actually is really big in Denmark anyways. So in that sense, it's also a bit of a pity that that volunteer area, so to say, is taken away by an app, by ChatGPT. So again, this is funny if you have this association as well, that ChatGPT is not only taking away all the design jobs nowadays, or some of the editorial jobs, but also voluntary work. But nonetheless, I think there will be other voluntary areas where people actually can do helpful stuff. I think, as said, this is really amazing and a cool idea. And not only that it's dealing with things which have to be recognized, but also something like Be My Gym Partner also, which is more active, or Be My Translator. We had that with Google Translate before, but of course I could imagine that this now gets onto another level for people who have these visual how did you call it, visual problems somehow.
Yeah, even some of the examples, obviously people like us who can see, we have lots of opportunities to get support when it comes also to other languages, like the Be My Translator function that is in the app. But in the video you see a person really scanning or taking a photo of a drink that is, you know, like with Chinese signs completely, and then it just reads out loud, yeah, this is a drink with, and it contains this, this, and this. I mean, it's even handy for, you know, for people who are not like that visually. Yeah, now I'm also losing the word, but having those issues. But yeah. And it's interesting to see, like, the one example in the gym, the person is going through the gym and like taking a video, and then it says like, yeah, now the second to the right is the one who's actually, you know, free for you to use, like the treadmill and stuff. It's just really, really handy. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not like it's doing some kind of gym exercises with you, but just more or less guiding you through the gym in this case.
It probably also does guiding you through exercises, but that is the, I mean, I don't know, but in the video you just see how that person is going through the gym and gets information on, you know, which things are free.
Yeah, Chris, I don't think that it will take away jobs of volunteers or volunteering, will block volunteering, because the issues, as far as I understand, Henrike, and when I look at the article, I understand it, that the challenges this app helps people who are visually impaired mostly are things that not a volunteer would solve for you, but would just make your life a bit difficult. The website shows a great example of 2 shirts that have both stripes, and you could take a picture of those shirts and ask which one is the one with the red stripes. And I think this is something where probably you would not have a volunteer do that for you, but obviously what you would do is you would don't buy stripes or something like that. So I think most of the tasks that this helps with is not replacing volunteers. It is more making the daily challenges, someone who is visually impaired or has problems with their vision generally, or other challenges, I think those challenges that have just to be overcome every day by those people, it just makes them easier for them. I think that is the target.
Yeah, I mean, they do mention that it takes over most of the stuff that the human volunteers usually help them with, but they also said it won't replace that entirely, because if you as the user are not happy with the, you know, with the response, or you simply prefer to have a human answering your questions, then you can still call a human volunteer. So they do not want to completely replace that.
And in markets, calling volunteer quite well. I mean, when you look at the screenshot, it shows very much, are you happy with that answer? Do you want to call a volunteer?
Yeah, I think the good thing is it makes you more independent if you want that, right? So on the other hand, of course, it takes away the social contact, because as far as I got it, the volunteer beforehand was not just like a help, giving context to your personal environment, but also like was kind of a like social company, right? And that, of course, is away now. Although we had that also in other tech reviews, that ChatGPT and other apps like that can also become some kind of social company you can talk to, you can actually have a nice evening with, so if you want to put it that way. And yeah, so maybe depending on your characters, it might be a replacement maybe, or at least an enhancement of a human volunteer.
Yeah.
And now, this.
Alrighty, Chris. Should we jump to your first article?
Which one is that?
Well,
why first?
You have to.
So we only have one here in this round, Henrike.
Oh, true. Which one are we looking at?
So I have brought actually the article about the $400 sweater tricks facial recognition cams into thinking you're a dog.
Alrighty.
So, and that is actually a funny article. So we have like, I have brought here today. So this is actually about facial recognition, and facial recognition is coming up all over the world. Now it's more or less all-day thing with the upcoming AI and the upcoming surveillance. And therefore, of course, there's also some kind of, let's say, growing concern about how this data actually could be abused in worst case. And so people think on various areas how to avoid that. And one of those people actually is a fashion designer startup called Capable. And they have started to create fashion items that can outsmart the technology, the surveillance technology, the cameras, to protect the wearer's privacy and the individual identity, so to say. And this is based on the designs which Capable actually has put into their new collection. And they have designed something which in their fashion actually, which massively irritates the recognition algorithms. And if you look in the article, you see some pictures of the fashion which they have there, or that they have there, and it's very colorful, right? So it looks a little bit like Christmas sweaters or something. But these kind of fashion items, they actually include patterns that mimic various animals, like for instance, giraffes, zebras, even dogs. And the crazy thing is that this pattern, this camouflage pattern, so to say, which have been put into the garment, that leads the camera systems to fail the identity of the wearer. Or on the other hand, sometimes even mistakes them as the respective animal, right? Like a giraffe or a zebra, I said. And I thought that is actually like a smart idea if you don't want to be recognized by such a face recognition system. And of course, it was a long way to get there. And the people say who developed that they had like two ways of actually getting there. So either they come up with images of all these animals on their clothes directly. So that would have been the much more direct way. But the more intelligent way apparently was, as just described, creating physical garments with these images woven onto them, like especially the patterns. And after their own statement, they were able to fool face recognition algorithms with a success rate of 60 to 90%. And it starts at about $400. So if you're interested, just get back to Capable so they can make that possible.
So you mean it's not enough, like just printing something on a shirt wouldn't have the effect? Their trick is to have this kind of the images woven onto the garments, as you said. That's kind of what makes the difference. Because I mean, you can also have like very colorful or colorful patterns just printed on a shirt or something, but that has not the same effect. Right?
Yeah, of course you can do that, I think. So in the end, it's the pattern that makes the difference. But on the other hand, so they are like a design fashion company, right? So it has to be fashion. Oh no, it has to be functional actually. So that is the non-surveillance effect. But on the other hand, it also has to be like a fashion item, right? So if you just print it on there, it looks probably a bit cheap. So what they combined is, from their point of view, the nice fashion look on the one hand with the anti-surveillance technology, so to say, on the other hand, and that being combined in a unique or at least a very special piece of fashion.
Does it say in the article if that is then 100% kind of reliable?
No, it says 60 to 90%.
60 to 90, okay. Well, $400 then for each, item.
I mean, say for criminal use, it's potentially worth it. I mean, think of it as more. Yeah, no, I mean, think of it. It's the smartest digital bulletproof vest out there. It's much. I think it's much more unlikely to get shot. When bank robbers, burglars, or what is it called? I don't know. Wearing those bulletproof vests, I think it's at least in Germany, it's much more unlikely, I would argue, to get shot than to be recognized by a camera. So, spending $400 on that or this, I think I would go with that design.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a startup, right? So imagine everybody running around with clothes like these. So the world would be a colorful place. That's one thing. And the other thing is that if that is really working, so all the surveillance systems would be totally out of order. So maybe they recognize everyone now and then, one or the other person, but 60 to 90% not. So that is so the whole system is not working any longer. The surveillance systems actually, they are reliable because they recognize 99% of the people, maybe even more. And if they have an outage of 60 to 90%, then it's not usable any longer. Then there's no use in that. So funny thing, and maybe, as I said, this is just a startup, just a bunch of people. If like really big warehouse companies would come to that idea, or would actually adapt that and really produce nice garments or nice clothes with all these patterns, right? Like a blazer like yours, for instance, or like yours, Henrike. So like just a blouse or a jacket or something, and then you have these patterns on that, maybe a little bit more discreet, not so colorful, maybe not so clashy. Then I could imagine it looks nice, and it has the effect that you are more or less invisible to facial recognition cameras. So would be actually a nice step on the way to privacy.
And sustainably produced, like then checking all the boxes. And because I was just thinking, I mean, if we would wear that, this would be a much more colorful round here as well, because we're all very black and dark colored. But if they manage at one point to create items that are more, also like just one color, and you do not see, because it's kind of in the pattern, but it doesn't need the colors to work, that would be pretty amazing. And I think people would buy it then. I mean, then it's also a completely different story to spend this amount of money if this has such an impact on my privacy.
Maybe reminds me a little bit of the article we once had with this foil, I think, which actually makes you invisible, right? So in that sense that it bends the light waves around you, and you are like vanishing or disappearing to the eyes of the people in front of you.
Yeah, the invisible code.
Well, who knows?
Alrighty, Vincent, did you wanted to add something beforehand, or?
I know everything I wanted to add was just added by you guys, so in a meeting I would have taken my hand down.
Okay, but then we're perfectly on time. Thanks guys for your contributions and for this very first tech review without Tarek. We miss you dearly, Tarek, so come back soon. And for today,